Okay, I'll just inject this into you real quick. It'll only take a second. It'll just be a little pinch, okay? Are you ready? Not really, but I guess I have to, right? Yeah, it increases your ability to fight off any pathogens or viruses. And sure, you might experience illness to an extent, but it won't nearly be at the level if you hadn't gotten the vaccine. Okay, I think I'm ready. It'll be quick. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey, that wasn't so bad. I'm a little bit sore, but that's about it. You can see from my phenomenal acting, that video was made PC, pre-COVID, or in a scenario before COVID, as the patient was wearing a mask. But that's aside from the point. Hello, my name's Imani, and I think the most important scientific breakthrough is the vaccine. The creation of the vaccine, a disease that is undermined by its name, smallpox, ravaged across the world. Smallpox derives from the variola virus, which seems to have been detected some point in the 6th century in either China or Korea or both, where traders from both regions would visit Japan and trade with them and introduce the virus to other parts of Asia. It was all in the 6th century. In the 7th century, Arabian expansion introduced smallpox into the European peninsula, into Spain and Portugal, and also into northern Africa. Skip a few centuries, and now we're in the 15th century, where the smallpox virus has already expanded across Europe and is now going to Western Africa with the Portuguese. Skip a few eras and you arrive to the 17th and 18th centuries, where Europeans brought the disease to North America, while Great Britain spread it to Australia. You might say smallpox is a well-seasoned traveler. Over time, this will end with the invention of one man. So this man right here is Dr. Edward Jenner. He's the inventor of the vaccine for smallpox. He established the vaccine after questioning why the milkmaids never got smallpox or were never infected by it. Jenner recognized how these milkmaids had been exposed to cowpox and hypothesized that maybe cowpox or them having it presented as a shield or some form of protection from them ever getting the smallpox disease. You know, like any, let's say, moral adhering, humane person following ethical standards, Jenner ejected material from a milkmaid's cowpox sore and injected it into a 9-year-old boy. It's okay, it's Jenner's Garner's son, so they know each other. Anyway, months later after the initial injection, Jenner continued to inject the variola virus into the 9-year-old boy and noticed that he never caught smallpox or was never affected by the disease. At the dawn of a new century, Jenner published a treatise. So this is the front cover of his work. It is titled On the Origin of the Vaccine Inoculation. Within here, he summarizes his findings and expresses his hope that they can finally end the smallpox pandemic that's impacting people all across the world. A century and a half after Jenner had published his treatise, the World Health Organization in 1959 tried to completely eradicate and annihilate the smallpox virus across the world. Unfortunately, this was considered a failure as they lacked the funding and the support and compliance of other countries to completely rid of the virus. It's evident as in 1966, where in places of South America, Africa, and in Asia, the virus was still very common and spreading, which just showed the lack of success the World Health Organization had at this attempt. Fortunately, in 1967, a program with a very cool name that describes what it does, the Intensified Eradication Program, completely annihilated the disease across the world over time. This initiative was very successful, and before the 1980s, they were able to completely rid of the virus in South America, in Africa, and in Asia. This shows a line graph of global smallpox cases from 1920 to 2010, although you cannot see the bottom on the x-axis. There's only a couple of spikes, like before 1950 and after 1950. As indicated on the graph, smallpox is completely eradicated and has disappeared just right before 1980, as we can see in South America, in Africa, and in Asia. Now that I've provided a summary on the history of the vaccine, it's time to return, or better yet, reconsider the question. Why is the vaccine the most important scientific breakthrough? Now, it may seem like I was just using time by providing a historical background of the vaccine, but I actually already answered the question. Before the invention of the vaccine, 500 million people were killed from smallpox. To go from that many people killed over the centuries to completely eradicating the virus and the disease with a vaccine just shows how marvelous it is. This is why we as humans are able to be optimistic or at least hopeful for the future, is because of the discoveries of the vaccine in the past. We know that we are going to evolve and advance our knowledge of how to administer vaccines or how to develop them, and we will continuously improve over the years. When you look at humans in the modern day, we no longer take ethical advice from Dr. Jenner, where we eject potentially harmful material from one person and inject into someone healthy. Now we have a new and effective approach where we inject the instructions for the virus into our cells, and allow our bodies to make antibodies to fight them off, which I personally think is better than Jenner's approach. And even if we don't completely destroy the coronavirus, we'll definitely get it to an extent where it's like the flu. You get a vaccine every year and you decrease your risk of becoming sick at all or falling very ill. And oh my, we need vaccines more than ever, not just for coronavirus, not for the influenza virus, but for the new outbreak in Central and West Africa, monkeypox. Some of my family lives in Nigeria, so I'm very concerned about that virus and how it's going to impact them and the other civilians living in those regions. But I know, or rather, I have faith that with modern equipment, technology, the knowledge of scientists, doctors, and everyone in the life sciences, like people who are into my major, biochemistry, I know that they'll find a cure or a vaccine that will reduce the risk of mortality. And as we evolve, we will learn and better support human longevity. I think this is a good place to conclude. Thank you for watching.